Welcome to the deep dive. Okay, so you know those media monitoring reports, the ones with the pie charts, positive, negative, neutral. Seems straightforward, right? A quick look tells you how things are going.
Yeah.
But today, we're digging into why just counting those mentions might be giving you a seriously incomplete picture, maybe even, a misleading one.
That's absolutely right. We've got some really interesting insights here, mainly drawing from Philip Odiakose's work. He's got a lot of experience in PR measurement. And his main point, crucial one, is that simply adding up the good and the bad mentions, like basic sentiment counting, it's just not really enough anymore. Not in today's media landscape.
Exactly. So our mission today really is to unpack why that traditional way of just counting can, steer you wrong, and then look at some smarter ways to actually get a handle on media sentiment.
Yeah.
Think of it like this. Counting tells you how much noise there is, but a deeper look tells you what that noise actually means.
Precisely. And the first sort of fundamental problem that Philip points out is this idea of trying to squeeze, the whole range of human opinions into just 3 boxes. Positive, negative, neutral. It's a bit blunt, isn't it?
Very blunt.
He gives this example, like you see a report says 60% positive sentiment. Okay, your first thought might be great. But the real question is, what does that 60% actually mean? So, should you be excited? Or maybe worried?
Right, and he actually mentions an agency CEO looking at that exact number and asking, straight up, so, should I be excited or worried? And that percentage alone, it just doesn't give you the answer.
It really doesn't. And on the flip side, you see, say, 35% negative sentiment. Alarm bells might start ringing, right? People start talking crisis management.
Yeah, instinctively.
But again, as Philip asks, quite rightly, what kind of negative are we talking about here? Is it a major issue or just minor grumbles?
That's the key, isn't it? That nuance.
It really is, because basic counting just treats every positive comment the same, every negative one the same. It ignores the intensity, how strongly do people feel, what's the actual quality of that comment. Philip uses this brilliant comparison, someone saying in Nigerian slang, the brand de Trisha, which kind of means they're doing okay, I guess.
Right, sort of lukewarm positive.
Exactly. Versus someone else shouting, this brand saved my life. Both get chucked into the positive bucket.
But the impact is completely different. Worlds apart.
Worlds apart, yeah. It's like saying, a bit of drizzle and a hurricane are both just rain. Technically true.
But not very helpful.
Okay.
So if just adding up the pluses and minuses isn't cutting it, what's a more meaningful way to look at this?
Well, Philip introduces a more, let's say, refined method, the sentiment score, or STSC. There's a formula.
Okay.
It's pretty simple, actually. You take the number of positive mentions, subtract the number of negative mentions, and then divide that by the total number of mentions.
Okay. Positive minus negative divided by total.
Yep. And what that gives you is a standardized score. It falls somewhere between -1, which is completely negative, and +1, completely positive. It gives a much clearer signal of the overall feeling.
Ah, I see. So it's not just if it's positive, but how positive.
Exactly. Instead of just knowing, we got more good comments than bad,
Yeah.
You get a sense of how much more positive the overall picture really is. It's a clearer signal.
Okay, let's break that down with an example. Say you have 3 positive mentions and 2 negative ones.
Yeah.
Maybe 10 mentions overall.
Right. So 3 minus 2 divided by 10, that's 1 divided by 10, which is 0.1.
0.1. So just slightly positive overall.
Exactly. Now compare that to, say, 8 positive mentions and only 1 negative mention out of 9 total mentions.
Okay.
Now it's 8 minus 1 divided by 9. That's 7 divided by 9, which is what, about 0.77? Let's say 0.7 or 0.8, somewhere up there.
Right, much higher. A significantly positive score.
A significantly positive score. Now, if you were just looking at percentages, the first case is 30% positive, the second is nearly 89% positive. Both sound generally good.
But that score, that 0.1 versus 0.7 or 0.8, tells a much richer story about the strength of the sentiment.
Precisely. Philip makes that point just saying 80% positive or whatever. It just lacks that crucial depth. This score gives you a better handle on the balance and intensity.
That makes a lot more sense. It shifts the focus.
Yeah.
And it's interesting, you mentioned other companies are moving this way too, like TrueScope.
Yeah, Philip mentions TrueScope in North America, folks like Todd Murphy there. They're recognizing that, just counting mentions has real limitations. People are looking for more sophisticated analysis.
Right.
And actually, building on that, Philip's own company, P+ Measurement Services, they've developed something they call the Future-Proof Sentiment Score Framework, which takes this idea even further.
Okay, future-proof.
Yeah.
It sounds like it gets right to that intensity and quality idea we were just talking about.
Yeah.
How does that work?
It really does. So instead of just positive, negative, neutral, this framework breaks it down more granularly. It classifies sentiment into strongly positive, moderately positive, and slightly positive. And it does the same on the negative side. Strongly, moderately, and slightly negative.
I see. So 6 categories plus neutral, presumably.
Exactly. And this gives brands, communication teams a much richer, much more actionable picture. Instead of just seeing negative, they can understand, is this a small complaint or is it something really serious needing urgent attention?
That seems incredibly valuable. Knowing if you have like a ton of slightly negative comments versus maybe just a few really strongly negative ones, that completely changes how you'd respond.
Completely. Or even if you need a big response. Going back to those reports, you can see why just 60% positive doesn't tell the whole story at all.
Definitely not.
And Philip mentioned that their clients, P Plus Measurement Services clients, will get access to this upgraded dashboard starting Q2 2025. They're also adding a dashboard just for tracking how competitor CEOs are doing in the media. So it's all moving towards more insightful intelligence.
It really highlights the importance of context, doesn't it? It's not just about having those shiny pie charts, as you called them earlier, looking nice in a presentation.
Exactly right. And Philip shares this really powerful real-world case. A multinational brand, they saw 35% negative sentiment in a report.
Oof, yeah, that sounds like panic stations.
Initially, yeah, they were prepping for a crisis, but then they dug deeper using this kind of nuanced analysis, and they found that 80% of that negativity was actually just slightly negative.
Wow, okay, like what kind of things?
Things like, minor delays in customer service responses or feedback about pricing being a bit high. Small stuff, relatively speaking.
Right, not reputation-destroying issues.
Not at all. And at the same time, their strongly positive mentions were actually increasing, mainly driven by really good user experience reviews.
So instead of hitting the panic button, they could see the bigger picture.
Yeah.
Address the small stuff, yeah, but also lean into what was working well.
Exactly. They could realign calmly, strategically. It just shows the power of getting that deeper level of analysis.
That's a great example.
It really is. A sentiment report, it has to answer the so what question, doesn't it? And maybe the what next. If it's just throwing numbers at you without that context, without that analysis, well, it's not really doing its job.
Yeah.
As Philip puts it, and I think this is spot on, vanity metrics may look nice in a report, but they can't guide strategy. Objective, research-backed metrics can.
That's such a good line. Data itself isn't the value, it's the insight you pull from it. So this shift, it sounds like it's more than just a tweak. It's a fundamental change for PR and comms.
I think it is. It's about moving the whole industry forward, really. Moving beyond just looking at the surface to understanding what's actually happening underneath.
And for those interested in the sort of the technical side of how this works.
Well, Philip briefly touches on things like lexicon-based sentiment scoring. That's where you use dictionaries of words that have been empirically scored for positivity or negativity. There are resources like the Harvard General Inquirer, for instance, rooted in language science. But the core idea, the main takeaway for everyone, is that simple frequency doesn't cut it.
Right. Back to that key message.
Exactly. Frequency tells you how much, but only deeper analysis tells you how much it matters.
So whether you're deep in the PR world or just trying to understand what people are saying about your local bakery online, the lesson is look beyond the simple counts. Don't just count the positive and negative tally marks.
Absolutely. That's the critical insight, moving from just counting to really understanding the intensity, the quality of the sentiment. That gives you truly actionable strategic intelligence.
Yeah, it means you can be less reactive, maybe less stressed about every little negative comment if you understand its actual weight.
Precisely. It allows for a much more informed approach to managing perception, managing reputation.
Absolutely. And hopefully, for you listening, this gives you that thorough knowledge you want, but without feeling, overwhelmed by just superficial numbers. It's about getting a more accurate, less jumpy understanding of media perception. So here's a final thought to maybe mull over.
Yeah.
Think about other areas, maybe in your work, maybe just in life, where you analyze data or information. Could you apply the same principle? Moving beyond just counting things to actually weighing them to get a more meaningful understanding. Definitely something to consider.
Good question to leave people with.
Thanks for taking this deep dive with us.